Hey everyone, how you doing today? It's Rick here. Talk a little NFL 1970s. What I feel is the NFL's best defense from 1970 to 1979. That era. I love that era. I was a young kid during that era. It's when I really started to enjoy the NFL. I thought it was the glory days of the league, along with the 80s as well. But the answer I'm going to give you is probably not the answer you expect. So I want to put there are a lot of notable great defenses. Of course, everybody who wins the Super Bowls probably have a darn good defense then. But so the Steelers from like 74 to 76 has to be. I mean, I think the 76 Steelers defense was statistically and what they did was one of the best ever. They didn't even win the Super Bowl that year, of course. I've mentioned this before. They allowed 9 games after starting off 1-4. 9 games, they allowed 28 points. That's incredible. 28 points in 9 games to win 9 in a row and finish 10-4. Of course, their 74 and 75 defenses, they won the Super Bowl, were incredible. You got to put the Miami Dolphins. They weren't an incredible team as far as sacking the quarterback and being so seemingly powerfully aggressive. But that team, the no-name defense, 72 and 73, they only lost 2 games total in those 2 years. The perfect season, then they were 12-2 the next year and won the Super Bowl back-to-back. Some of the finest defenses. They didn't let you score. They stopped the run. Sort of underrated, but they were great. And of course, the 1977 Dallas defense was powerful. Probably the best sacking defense of that era of Super Bowl champions. They were incredible with Harvey Martin with 23 sacks and a 14-game schedule. They were extremely powerful, ranked number 1 that year. So that's 5. That's actually 6 different defenses I've mentioned. And you can throw some others in there, but I'm going to tell you what I think was the very best defense and why. The 1977 Denver Broncos, the best defense of that decade. And I'll tell you why. They didn't win the Super Bowl that year. They went to the Super Bowl. The first year Denver was really anything special and made the playoffs. They get Craig Morton, traded from the Giants in the offseason. And they wound up 12-2 in a 14-game schedule. Last year they had 14 games. They went to the Super Bowl and they wound up losing to Dallas. They got blown out. Okay, but the 1977 Bronco defense, I believe, was the best of the decade. Why? They had absolutely no offense. They had a very pedestrian, mediocre offense. All the other teams I've mentioned, the Steelers of the era, had solid offense. They could run the ball. Franco Harris and Rocky Bleier, Terry Bradshaw throwing. I mean, they could move the football. The Dolphins had one of the most powerful running games ever with Zonker and Kick and those Mercury Morris. They could just plow through you with that running game. And the Dallas offense of 77 that beat Denver, they also went 12-2 that year, had the number 1 offense in the league with Dorsett as a rookie, Roger Staubach. So these defenses I'm talking about, the defenses had good offenses to complement them, which you need usually to win a Super Bowl back then. Nowadays, you can have a half-assed defense and still win. Chiefs are an example of that. But not then. Then you basically had to be powerful on both sides of the ball. The Broncos, that year in 77, didn't even have a middling offense. It was very pedestrian. Morton brought some good leadership, and he was an improvement of what they had. But they weren't a great passing team. They weren't even a great rushing team. But their defense alone, creating turnovers, big plays, was their catalyst and pushed them all the way to a Super Bowl. That defense, they did not have the help the Steelers defense had an offense, the Dolphins or the Cowboys. They did not have that type of an offense, not even close. They had a very average offense, and yet they were 12-2 in a division with the Raiders. It was tough. Had the toughest schedule in the league that year. They had the toughest schedule in the league, well noted, and finished 12-2 with a very, very half-ass offense. Carried them all the way, and eventually they played a complete team in Dallas in the Super Bowl. They wound up getting beaten pretty soundly because Dallas had just about equally a defense and a great offense. And, of course, the combination took them down. But to get as far as they did and to win as many games as they did with arguably the worst offense that ever made it to a Super Bowl. For a Super Bowl team, look at all Super Bowl teams, the Vikings, that made it to the Super Bowl, the Rams in 79, the Redskins, the Cowboys, the Steelers, the Raiders, who had excellent offense, excellent passing offense especially. All those, even the Colts, when they made the Super Bowl in 70. If you look at all the teams that made the Super Bowl in the 70s, there's a lot of the same ones too, Dallas, Pittsburgh, and stuff like that. All of them had a solid upper-class offense. Denver did not. They had the worst offense by far and away of any Super Bowl entry team in that decade. Not even close. And yet they were 12-2 and came within a game of winning it all. And that's because their defense was just so opportunistic, so strong, always causing turnovers, always making big plays, and leading them almost to glory, at least to the AFC Championship. So that's my opinion of what was the, and I was a Cowboys fan, grew up as a Cowboys fan, especially in that era. So I'm not being biased here. I'm saying that we beat them in the Super Bowl, but I still had tons of respect. The passion of their fans that whole year. If you the Orange Crush, I've never seen fans that passionate to this day, wearing orange all the time, and because it was the first time they had actually been something, and they went from basically never making the playoffs all the way to the Super Bowl, which was a very, very good thing for them. But the passion of the fans, that defense was just so heralded. They picked up Lyle Alzado in the offseason from, I believe, Cleveland. He really catapulted them, made them even better. They had great quicks, secondary, and linebackers, great linebackers. And it was a to me, it was still my most favorite defense of all time because, like I said, that I mentioned it in another video, the 91 Eagles, who didn't have an offense either because Cunningham went down. That's for a different video and a different time era. But for the 1970s, a defense literally carried that team on its back all the way to the Super Bowl with a 12-2 record in 14 games. If you don't believe me, go check the stats. Their offense was not that great, and yet they almost won it all. That's my talk for the day. 1970 defenses, 1977 Denver Broncos, who won the AFC Championship and lost to Dallas. I still believe is the best defense of that era, in my opinion. It's Rick here. Have a great day. God bless.